Hello, welcome to Bree Heaton's presentation of Creating Innovative Uses of Technology Lesson Plan, an Individual Project. I am a math teacher, and oftentimes my students tell me that they have no one to help them when they go home. They get home, they don't understand how to do the problems, and so they give up. To combat this issue, I was trying to find a way for my students to learn at home and come to class ready to ask questions and receive help. So I am going to implement a flipped or hybrid model. Students will be accessing videos online at home where they will take notes and complete a graphic organizer. They will then come into class the following day and be ready to work problems. In order for my students to be able to do this, I thought of two lessons. My first lesson, I simply wanted my students to learn how to solve simple linear equations. So I referenced them to go to my website, so I will show you that now. It's New Manchester High School's webpage. On there I have a calendar. The calendar has links. They'll click on Solving Linear Equations link. It says, tonight you will learn how to solve linear equations. So it tells them that they need to watch a video, which they will just click and here it comes up. And while they are watching this video, they are going to complete a note-taking guide, which is also found on the main web page. And this is what they will see when they download. So students would see something similar to this note-taking guide. They would either fill in the blanks or answer questions about the videos they watch. So for example, question number 1 says, an equation means it has an blank sign. So the students would actually have to fill in what this was from the video. And the last question, for example, says, how many solutions can linear equations have? And so this question can't really be answered until they have viewed all videos. Of course, this is just a sample of what students would see. Usually there would probably be 5 more questions, each one geared toward the video that they are watching. In addition to filling out a note-taking guide, students also are required to fill out a graphic organizer to help them keep track of all their information. And this is an actual graphic organizer that my students would use to solve linear equations. The first box is for one-step equations. They would write all the steps involved and perhaps provide the example from the video. The same for two-step, three-step, multi-step, and equations with variables on both sides. Finally, they would receive 4 practice problems using their graphic organizer just to make sure that they understood. Now again, these will mainly be finished in class, so if they feel like they can't do it, they did everything else, this is what they would start class off asking me. Again, those are just samples of what students might see. So the very first lesson, all that they are doing is learning how to navigate to my website, download the 2 forms that they need to watch the videos with, watch the videos, and complete the forms. This way, when they come in the next day, they'll be able to ask questions and solve harder problems. Students will have to know how to use technology. They will have to be able to access my website. They will have to have capability to watch videos, and if they can print the note-taking guide and the graphic organizer, that would be great, but if they can't, they could fill it in electronically and email it either to me or themselves. Prior skills that students would need, they'd have to know how to use a computer, they'd have to know how to get to our website. They would also need to know how to complete a note-taking guide. So we probably would do something like that in class to make sure that they understand exactly what they're supposed to do. So we'd probably watch a video together as a class and fill it out step by step before I made them go home to do it. Also, graphic organizer, they would have to know how to fill those out. I'd probably go step by step with that as well in class, a different type of graphic organizer, but step by step so they understood exactly what I meant when they went home. And of course, students would have to know how to work in groups to communicate how to solve linear systems. And so I would have to make sure they knew how to do that. For this lesson, students are only asked to watch videos teaching them how to solve simple linear equations, complete their note-taking guide, and complete their graphic organizer. Be ready for class the next day. In order for students to use the technology, you're going to have to teach them how to find your website. You have to teach students how to access the videos, how to either find the note-taking guide and how to complete it, as well as the graphic organizer, and also how to collaborate in pairs. Advantages to this project: students learn how to teach themselves. What else can we give them? Class time can be spent concentrating on extended thinking activities. I can really stretch their minds if I'm not focused so much on the level 1 and level 2 knowledges. I can really ask them in-depth questions, analysis. Students can use class time to ask questions. They can also work together to solve linear equations, both things that they would have difficulty doing at home by themselves with a parent that possibly doesn't remember how to do it. There are disadvantages. Some students may not have access to a computer or the internet at home, so an alternative assignment would probably have to be provided for those students, or perhaps allow them some class time to preview the videos before they go home. Students may not complete the requirements and will not be prepared for class the following day. So in case that happens, the teacher would have to have a backup plan for those students. I think, though, if you continue and let them know your expectations, that more students would feel comfortable watching videos at home and then coming in to be able to practice. Effective instructional strategies. It's student-centered. Students are expected to teach themselves. It gives them ownership for their learning. They work in collaborative pairs to solve challenging problems. The teacher becomes the facilitator. And graphic organizers help us organize our thoughts. It helps us look back and see, oh yes, I have to do this next. This is my next step. So it really keeps them focused and organized. And some possible ways this innovation could be transferred. One example I provided was perhaps in science class, the teacher can use a video to explain a lab, and they complete some type of note-taking guide, and when they come back to school the following day, they're ready to go for their lab. They've done their pre-lab already. Lesson 2 is very similar to Lesson 1. I think it's very important to stay consistent with students, especially when you're introducing new types of technology. For Lesson 2, I want my students to solve systems of linear equations. Basically, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to watch videos, they're going to complete a note-taking guide, they're going to complete a graphic organizer, which we viewed before, but they're going one step further and having to create a Prezi to teach others how to solve systems of linear equations. So the only added technology students will actually have to use is learning how to do the Prezi. And I have an example Prezi. I always want to teach students how to do things using a non-example, so I give them an example. I introduced myself to the students, so I have a presentation all about Bree Heaton, and the students actually get to create their own Prezi all about themselves. That's one of our very first Intro to Me activities. This way they become familiar with the technology, but it's not so burdening on them when I ask them to actually explain something like solving systems of equations to their peers. So they're familiar with the technology, they do something fun with it, and then they get to apply it when solving systems. So you would definitely have to spend some class time on teaching students how to create a Prezi, and I would suggest doing an intro guide, something like that. They really like talking about themselves. Of course, you'd have to set parameters, make sure things are school appropriate, but I've found that students really enjoy doing that before they create their own Prezi. Teachers will have to know how to use a website. They'll have to know how to create a Prezi. They will have to make a graphic organizer as well as a note-taking guide that goes along with the video. And I really think once they get the hang of it, it'll be worth a while. Prior knowledge of the students, again, they'll have to know how to use the computer, how to access the website, how to make sure the video's up, complete those note-taking guides, their graphic organizers, and of course to create a Prezi. So the exact product students are going to have to create, again, they're going to have to fill in their graphic organizers. But the overall project is to create a Prezi, teaching others how to solve systems of linear equations. Finally, students will evaluate each other's works using a provided rubric. So teachers would also have to create that rubric for them ahead of time. Advantages, again, students learn how to teach themselves. Class time can be spent on extended thinking activities. Students use class time to ask questions, and they have to work with their peers and collaborate and really think about what it means to solve a system when creating their project. Disadvantages, not everyone has access to it. Some students do have trouble with Prezi. Some students may not enjoy working in a group as well. So you're going to have to provide alternatives for that. Effective instructional strategies, it's student-centered. Students have to take ownership of their learning. They work in pairs. The teacher becomes a facilitator. They have a graphic organizer, and they actually have to evaluate each other's work, which I think is very important. Another way that this innovation can be used, this time I was thinking possibly social studies could use this lesson. Maybe teach about the Constitution. I've seen an example. My sister teaches social studies, and she had students create their own country with their own governing laws, perhaps have them create their own constitution using some type of web format, a Web 2.0 technology, and they could use a Prezi detailing the process behind how a country decides and develops a constitution. So that is my presentation. I hope that you enjoyed. Hopefully you can use these ideas in your classrooms. I'm really looking forward to trying these out and seeing how my students handle the difference. Thank you for your time. Bye.